Alright, so the S13's broken. Again, it's always broken. If you've met me in the last 3 years, you've probably never seen my car not be broken. But this time I think it's a fuel issue. I took it to a drift event in December, and I had a lot of issues with it. It was breaking up, it was really inconsistent. I could drive it for a couple of laps, and then I would start to feel fuel cutting out. And it seemed like once I got up to temp, that was when I was really having an issue. So I think the fuel pump is bad. I really want to put a fuel pressure gauge on it and see what's going on, like exactly with the numbers whenever it's up to temp. But I really think it's the fuel pump. I also probably need a new fuel filter, and I could probably clean up the grounds for the wiring. I'm going to do all those things, and hopefully my car will be drivable again so I can start driving it on the street more. First thing I'm going to do is grab the fuel pressure gauge, and I'm going to put it on the feed line after the fuel filter. Alright, so on startup, the fuel pressure is riding right around 40 psi. I'm going to give it just a few minutes and let it heat up. It's probably going to take about 10 minutes to get warm, and then see where the fuel pressure is. Whenever I was at the track, it would be fine for the first 2 laps, and then it seemed like as soon as it got fully up to temp, that's when I started dropping fuel pressure. So I am going to try to replicate that by letting it idle for a few minutes and then monitoring what the fuel pressure does. Alright, so the car is pretty close to operating temperature now. It doesn't have a thermostat, so it never really gets all the way up to operating temp. But the fuel pressure is riding right around 30 psi, which is about 6 psi short of what it needs to be. And when I give it throttle, it doesn't really want to move at all. So when you apply throttle, you should be getting more fuel, and I am not, which means that it's probably my fuel pump. So I'm going to go ahead and change that out and see if that changes anything for my fuel pressure. Alright, so I've got the replacement pump on the hanger. Like I said, this was a known good used one, so obviously it's not brand new. I also had to reuse the fuel sock, which is not an ideal situation because that thing is pretty nasty. I'm going to add that to my maintenance list. I've got a couple other filters and things I need to add to that list too, so I'll just add this to it and be ready to pull it back out for that. But this is it. Back on there, we're ready to throw it back in the car. Alright, so the new pump is in. It looks like everything's pretty good. The fuel pressure looks like it's about right. It's riding right around 36 at idle at temp. The only things that I ran into, I may have trimmed a soft line a little bit too much. It was splitting, it was cracked, it was definitely going to leak if I left it alone. So I cut it back, but then I didn't really have enough left. I thought I would. I made a mistake. So I might have to go in and replace the soft lines for the fuel pump, or for the fuel tank, which are probably long overdue anyways. And then the other thing is, if you have ever had an S13, you know that you really have to be careful putting those small 8mm bolts back in the top of the sending unit. So I did manage to strip this one real good, like. Thankfully, it's just the screw. I can thread another one into that same hole and we're good. So I do still have threads in the tank itself, which usually doesn't happen. I got super lucky. I went ahead and I ordered 6 new ones, 6 new OEM ones. That way they're all new and they all look decent. I actually plan on replacing the entire sending unit in the future with a radium unit. It'll be newer, it'll be cleaner, it'll be nicer, it'll be reliable. The wiring that goes down into the tank itself for the fuel pump tends to get corroded over time. It's been about 30 years, so it's kind of time to replace that unit. And the radium one is nicer, and it is the same price as buying OEM. So I'm likely going to do that because the radium one is serviceable, unlike the OEM unit. And I'm all about being able to fix something on the fly. I did have a ground pull out of that unit before, and trying to get it back in there at the track was kind of not fun. So in the future, I am going to move to a radium sending unit so that I never have that problem again. But for now, the car seems like it's fixed, it seems like it's running well, and we're going to go take it on a test drive. Alright, so it's pretty unlikely that you're going to be able to hear me at all once I start the car. I went over everything, all of the fuel lines look good, I double checked everything to make sure it wasn't leaking before I drove the car. So now I'm going to take it on a quick test drive. I'm going to be pretty easy with it, I'm not going to do anything crazy. I just want to see if it works. So I'm going to dig for my seatbelt and give her a rip. Alright, so I just got back from the test drive. Car seems to be doing well. It seems to be pulling like it's supposed to. It doesn't break up. It doesn't lean out. I don't think it's broken for now. We'll see how long that'll last because it never lasts for very long. But it feels really good right now, which means I get to drive it on the street and get comfortable with it again. I get to take it to the track when I'm ready. I've taken some time off from driving to focus on some other things, but I'm really starting to want to drive again. And the car's running again. So it's very tempting. But anyways, the main thing that I want to focus on next is rebuilding the splitter. I don't like the way that it is right now. It kind of just flops against the road whenever I'm driving if I get above a certain speed. So it's not really street car friendly. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for watching. And if you want to subscribe, I'll be doing more 240 shit. And yeah, thanks.